Agatha Soul Cauldron already sees some legacy play, but can we perhaps do something a little more interesting with it? Let's find out. Hello, Phil from the future here for a second. The recommended round in this league is round 5, and to those of you celebrating Christmas today, Merry Christmas. To everyone else, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and all that jazz. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another legacy video, and today Kevin has asked me to build a deck with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, as well as Entomb to search for some things to put into Graveyard to do cool things with it. Now, Agatha's Soul Cauldron sees play in Legacy in the Painter shell, mostly, where it is serving as additional copies of Goblin Welders and Goblin Engineers, and can occasionally do an infinite combo with Phyrexian Devourer. And if I wanted to do the easiest possible thing with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, I just shove it into Painter, I add black mana, and we maybe add a couple reanimates into the deck. We can reanimate Chaos Defiler in addition to just normally bringing it back, and we could call it a day. But I feel like the spirit of a tier 3 donation deck list is often try something just absolutely crazy and see what we can learn from it. So I'm going to try to build something a little more interesting today rather than just that, and I'm going to try to go into a Jund Delirium style deck. So here's what I came up with. I actually started building this as a Nick Fit variant before I kind of came upon some deck building revelations. Agatha's Soul Cauldron's primary job here is going to be to find the aforementioned Phyrexian Devourer. And we can just start exiling the top cards of our library in order to create a, air quotes, infinite-sized creature that can kill our opponent in a single combat step. One of the things Kevin noted in deck building, though, is that there's this problem because Agatha's Soul Cauldron, in order for it to really do its thing, it needs to be in play, you need to have a creature, and that creature needs to have a +1/+1 counter on it. So we need to make sure that we are actually playing enough creatures in this deck so that this can be active. We need to make sure that we put a couple things in this deck with sweet abilities, and we need some ways to get things into the graveyard. Now, Entomb is a fantastic way to do that. That lets us search for exactly Phyrexian Devourer, and we're going to throw a Grizzlebrand in here because who doesn't like drawing 7 cards? I hear that's pretty good. But as far as the rest of the shell goes, we are going to try to play a lot of things that intentionally put extra cards into our graveyard so that we can get these creatures into our graveyard so that we can remove them to get the +1/+1 counters from Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Malevolent Rumble sees a lot of play in Modern as a kind of 1 mana effect. We can play some Goyfs here, which get bigger as we put those cards into graveyard, and Pyrogoyf in particular can add additional cards to our graveyard. Pyrogoyf can serve as our removal, and we're going to do some other things with +1/+1 counters as well. Omnivorous Flytrap is one that flew under my radar personally, but when it enters or attacks, if you have Delirium, you get to distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. Then if there's 6 or more card types in your graveyard, double the number of +1/+1 counters on those creatures. So this can get a little bit silly. And the Entomb is also going to serve as a combat trick. So we have all of these creatures that care about the different card types in graveyard. If we Entomb, we can get an artifact creature, 2 types. We can get an enchantment creature, 2 types. Or we can get a planeswalker creature, 2 types. So Entomb can also be a way for us at instant speed to shift the combat outcome associated with these creatures. We can just Entomb, Reanimate, Grizzlebrand, and pull ahead very early on in the game in that capacity, although these reanimates are probably going to be fair cards rather than unfair cards in a lot of situations. We can do something like loot a creature with fear of missing out, and then reanimate it and take some extra combat steps with it. Now, there's a lot going on in this deck. We're going to be very soft to hard graveyard hate, and by that I mean things like Rest in Peace, but there's very little of that in the format right now. Hopefully it stays that way. We have decent game 1 options versus other creature decks, with 8 things that are kind of serving as creature removal here, 9 if you are counting Grist, and we have some relatively aggressive combo options that can put us ahead versus fair decks. I don't think we're going to be the best versus combo decks, so the sideboard here is mostly going to be concerned with beating combo decks, with 10 of these cards being geared towards combo decks of various natures, and then a handful of flex slots here dedicated towards fair matchups. To maximize the Reanimator stuff, I should be playing like Archon of Cruelty and Atraxa probably, but that's not what we're trying to do. We want a large creature to Entomb for specifically that has an activated ability for Agatha's Soul Cauldron. So this is a little bit janky, but this is maybe something interesting to do with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. I think if you want to build around Soul Cauldron in different ways, you could consider something like Bomberman combo. Like you have a lot of activated abilities there with Walking Ballista and Auriok Salvagers. That's another way to push Agatha's Soul Cauldron. I think you can very reasonably put it into a mono blue artifact Stompy shell, like the 8-cast style things. I don't particularly think that is going to be a very strong deck right now, though, so I tried to shy away from that shell. Having this be extra copies of Emery is relatively powerful, although a lot of the other creatures that you might play alongside of it aren't going to have activated abilities. Think about your Patchwork Automatons, your Thought Monitors, all that sort of stuff. So we'll see how this crazy idea goes. Again, very much hoping to play against fair stuff. Folks, if you need some Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. If you use promo code ThrabenU, you will save 5% on your order. If you are going to be at a major event such as MagicCon Chicago, you can place your order in advance and pick it up on site, and it is super, super convenient, and I highly recommend it. Let's go see how we win, or maybe lose, these games. Okay, our first opening hand here does not have an initial mana source. That's no good. Our second one does. We're going to be a little far away from Delirium to really power up these creatures, but hopefully a Surveil land plus Fear of Missing Out means that it ends up being okay. An Underground Sea deck. Opponent has Goyfs of their own. I have a Bauble. I will wait on cracking that, because my opponent could be playing a Thoughtseize effect. I guess there's Bowmasters to think about, though. I'm not used to playing around Bowmasters in Game 1 scenarios versus blue-black decks anymore. That was a play pattern that just fell out. I'll take one here. It is a DRC. Ooh, this was something I should have considered for this deck. I didn't think of that. Let's see what you're drawing. Brainstorm. Sure. I will have Artifact Land, and hopefully I surveil something else here. Yeah. Another land. I don't want that. I'll get a redraw, an Entomb, another Entomb. Okay, we're cooking. So yeah, I'm in play. I'm going to discard one of these Entombs. I found a Goyf. That's fantastic. I would love removal, probably for this. I have land, instant, artifact, and I have multiple different ways to get a creature into the graveyard, including my opponent just killing my thing. That is fine. Do you reach? No, you don't reach. You look like you should reach. Text box already has too many words on it, though. The opponent has Ponder and a Brainstorm in hand that we know about. Wait, was the Brainstorm surveilled? Yeah, okay. Sorry, Brainstorm was surveilled. Oh, and Fear of Missing Out going to graveyard means that there are 5 card types in graveyard already. A 6th is possible for Omnivorous Flytrap. Oh, this is so much damage. All right, so yeah. I think I am just going to play a blocker here. I'll send 2 +1/+1 counters here. So now I have a 4/6 creature that hopefully walls this. I'll cycle this. We're looking for the last land for Pyrogoyf. Force of Will is unfortunate. Get another Omnivorous Flytrap. And make a very large creature very quickly. I have to figure out how I'm beating that Force of Will, though. Fatal Push could also be a problem. Like, I could just take 7 this turn. I mean, I have to block this. All right, I'll take 3. It's another one. Okay, so I think I'm just going to die to Force of Will. I think if I play Pyrogoyf, I am 100% dead. Sometimes Omnivorous Flytrap resolves. The way that I don't die is multi-spelling. I'm going to cast this. I need it to resolve, and then with the trigger on the stack, I can try Entombing. It does not resolve. So now, I guess I'm not technically dead, right? I can go to 1. So I could have tried to Entomb first and see if my opponent counters that. Maybe I don't show that. Wasteland, sure. I will Entomb in response. I get Spell Pierced. Sure. That could actually kill me if the Surveil goes wrong. I need to draw an untapped non-fetch land here. Opponent has no cards. Yeah, literal 1 more point of life, and I get to nuke this and have the board stabilized. Rats. Closer game than it probably looked there. I have good tools for this matchup if I get out of the early game. Push is good, Bowmaster is good. I probably want Archon here if I'm going to keep Reanimate stuff. Pyroblasts don't actually kill a lot of my opponent's creatures. I don't know that I'm actually going to play those. Grizzlebrand becomes Archon, that's easy. And this might be kind of a trim rather than cut situation. Malevolent Rumbles are quite slow, actually. Like the select, if I take a turn off, that might be 3 to 5 points of damage that I take as a result. This is good turn 1, good turn 2, and not much after that. That might still be good enough to keep. Not 100% sure. Bulk and Lightning Bolt, sure. So I can cast an Entomb around a Spell Pierce here, which I think I'm fine with doing. Has just resolved. Let's put this Archon in Graveyard for later, for if I draw a Reanimate. I will, of course, draw Agatha Soul Cauldron next turn, and it will come back to bite me in the butt that I made that decision. Ponder's fine. I don't think I like playing the Underground Sea prior to the Ponder. You lose out on the ability to fetch and shuffle afterwards. Our opponent just naturally shuffles. And they're going to take a look at our card. They take the redraw. I have a Bowmaster. I am down with that, I think. Yeah, I think I'm down with that. And then I'm going to play my Goyf around Daze. All right, we're just chilling. If we're just chilling, I think I take another draw step and just pressure my opponent's cantrips passively with Orcish Bowmasters. I think that's fine. No mana usage from my opponent. They play their own Goyf in another land. Sure. Now that there's pressure in play, I think I do take action. Hang my opponent for 1, and then I'll do a Surveil land. Yeah. Fear of missing out. That lets me loot a land away. That's fine. Not necessarily the most exciting thing in the world, but I think it's fine. I think we're going to slow roll this a little more. It's pretty bad if my opponent has their own Bowmaster, which it looks like they might. Yeah, so my opponent gets good value here. So they Bowmaster my Bowmaster, and then they can Bowmaster my token. Yep. Get rid of this. Pick up Reanimate. Hell yeah. I lose token. Now I get to play Reanimate around Spell Pierce and Daze. So this has to be Force of Will. I mean, I guess it could be like a Surgical Extraction type card too. Oh yeah, we're in play, baby. I probably could have tapped this in a way where I leave up black mana for this Archon of Cruelty draw. Opponent discards a Brazen Borrower. Yeah, I can get pinged again, that's fine. I will play a Bauble. I'll pass the turn. Opponent discards Brazen Borrower. What the fuck hotness is in their hand that makes them not want to have Brazen Borrower to bounce this Archon? Oh, okay. It's just another one. Sure. I'm going to take 7 damage here. I don't think I'm going to crack the Bauble. I think my margins are currently a little tight, but they are not likely to be tight for long, assuming that this sticks. Now I have a 6/7 that outpaces all of this stuff, and I can have another one, and I can keep these creatures growing. But, you know, I am 1 Fatal Push away from dead here. Let's see if this is the Revolt for Fatal Push. Same difference. This is Molten Collapse, and then I just take 7 in combat. I feel like both games we were just 1 turn away from totally having the game locked down. But Tempo Deck did Tempo Deck things, and we lost. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out. Okay, our hand is a little slow here, but can set up some possibilities for later with Entomb. We have a bridge card to get us to stuff later on here. Unfortunately, our opponent has a very, very powerful start. Sure. The Bojuka Bog is used early, which is probably good for us. This Rashad Port's pretty good against what I'm doing. I'm a little afraid that the last card is just going to be something like Life from the Loam, but we'll see where this goes. Like for this hand to be keepable, the last card, yeah, kind of needs to be Life from the Loam. Maze of Ith, obviously very good against what I was planning on doing here. So I can do a Surveil land if I would like. I don't think I would like. Sometimes I need to be playing on all basics, so Wasteland is not relevant. So I can get Basic Forest, do this, play Malevolent Rumble. That gets me a 3rd basic, and I'll pass turn. The Malevolent Rumble, unfortunately, is not actually mana acceleration due to Tabernacle. Okay, so there's the Wasteland that I have proactively played around. When it gets Wasteland back, I'm just gonna sacrifice this. It doesn't do anything here. Yeah. So this game is going to go very slow between Port and Tabernacle and whatnot. So now I have all 3 basics. I can Malevolent Rumble again to just keep filling the graveyard to make things good for later. I will... Or when I break out of this, this is direct damage. This is something that is better to play early on. Is Fear of Missing Out on attack? It is on attack. And how is this worded? This turn? Fuck. Okay, so that's not actually the best. Alright, I will take the Pyrogoyf then. When the Life from the Loam starts hitting something like an Urza's Saga, I'm dead. Or Ghost Quarter. Alright, opponent is wastelanding themselves so that they can reuse Bojuka Bog. That's unfortunately a very good line that I was hoping my opponent would not think of. But they thought of it. So again, I'll just let this go. It doesn't really do anything. My opponent can port me off of one of these. That's fine. So whatever land I play will be wastelandable, which is not the best. But here we are. There's Urza's Saga. That is going to bury us very quickly. I can find an Agatha Soul Cauldron to disrupt Life from the Loam, which would be cool. But otherwise, like Tabernacle plus Maze of Ith plus Port is just fully invalidating my ability to play Magic here. I'll pay for my creature. Opponent ports me off a color. Can't play that Flytrap now. I will make a land drop. And unfortunately, like... I don't get anywhere with this through Maze of Ith. Do not have any agency versus lands here. That's not really going to change in post-sideboard games. I can get Force of Vigor to deal with the tokens specifically. I think this is just going to be a time where deck design just means that my opponent's Tabernacle Maze of Ith deck lines up very, very well against what I am doing. Like, we are trying to go over the top of a lot of other mid-range decks, and our opponent is trying to go over the top of us. I will fetch. I will Surveil. This land is probably not going to make it through the turn. Reanimate can stay on top. Reanimate can stay on top. Archon is very good. My opponent will wasteland this. I'll pay for my creature. My opponent will probably port down my mountain like they have been doing. Yep. So... we're going to go grab a black source, which is a Bayou. I will cast an Entomb. Oh, god damn it, we don't have Archon in game 1. This Grist, then? Is it a Goyf? It might just be another Goyf. Grist is interesting, but I don't know how objectively powerful that actually is. Let's just get 2 of these and hope I can get through Maze of Ith. Yeah, and this is where trying to do Phyrexian Devourer stuff and having like activated abilities on creatures for Soul Cauldron is biting me in the butt versus just being a full-powered Reanimator deck. Expedition map. This can just get my opponent another Maze of Ith. Oh, it's Ghost Quarter, so they're going to try to obliterate all of my lands. I do not think I'm going to continue to play this game at this point. I think my opponent has clearly demonstrated a win. We're going to make this swap, because this swap was very, very important to me having a chance to win game 1. I think I'm going to play Force of Vigor for Urza Sagas and Explorations and stuff. Malevolent Rumble is very, very bad versus Tabernacle. I will probably junk all of those. A lot of the other cards here are not super good, though. I have to keep 2 Malevolent Rumbles to just fill my own graveyard. Like, Thoughtseize is not great, Fatal Push is not great, Collector Oof is not overly impressive. That doesn't look good. This has 1 mana source, and it's not the black that I need to Entomb plus Reanimate. That's cruel. It's very cruel. 5-card hand is rough. It does not have a plan to win. Like, I play an ETB tapped land into Ignoble Hierarch for ramp, ? I don't have anything for graveyard for Cauldron. I can play Naked Cauldron as graveyard hate, but if my opponent just, plays Urza Saga, I die to that. I am going to 4. The 4-card hand is not functional, but I will be keeping it because we're on 4 cards at this point. So this is always... Hello? Oh, sorry. So keep 4. Always getting rid of that. Always getting rid of the 4-drop. And I think I just keep 2 of these and pray. Alternatively, I could keep this and attempt to reanimate a creature that I randomly hit off the top with a Surveil land. That might be better. Like, I have drawn another reanimate, unfortunately. I think this is just one of those times where we lost the matchup lottery. And it's also going to have, oh my god, white removal for us, which is not great. Yeah. So I'm going to target myself here. Entomb. I will draw Entomb. And now I can get Archon of Cruelty. And that is functional through Maze of Ith. Ganjo. That's fine. Like, I am hopefully just taking that as collateral damage for Entomb, Reanimate. So Entomb, pick up Archon, Reanimate, target Archon. Alright, we are successful, which is fantastic. Opponent discards a Mox Diamond. I can get another basic or another Surveil land, depending on how we expect this turn cycle to go. We're hoping that this does not eat Swords to Plowshares immediately. Opponent only has 2 cards remaining. Tabernacle is fine. Lookout is fine. I think I am okay doing a Surveil land here. I am okay with that. That's all that it is okay. I think I'm just going to take it. I'm going to get another card off Archon of Cruelty anyway. We'll pay my 1. My opponent is going to get a Free Strider Lookout activation off of Maze of Ith here. Land enters tapped. Yes. I don't need to be worried about getting wastelanded or anything here. My opponent activates Maze of Ith, just finding a Boseiju. My Archon trigger goes through, causing my opponent to sacrifice their creature. I am still dealing damage through Maze of Ith, which is great. This is what I wanted last game. And now my opponent just needs some hotness off the top. And they don't get it. So we very quickly take that one down through the Maze of Ith. And I think I am okay with where we are at in terms of sideboarding here. I don't remember if I said this out loud or not, but the sideboard could probably use a couple of graveyard hate cards, despite the fact that we do have Agatha's Soul Cauldron in the main deck. You know, a couple of Endurances or Surgicals or Nihil Spellbombs or whatever. I think I conceptually like the Spellbomb to put artifacts into graveyard. So this goes land, Fear of Missing Out, discard a creature Planeswalker, and then cast a sorcery, which hopefully puts a land into graveyard. Fear of Missing Out might be doing its thing quickly, but Fear of Missing Out just gets shut down by Maze of Ith terribly. It doesn't care about the extra combat step because Maze of Ith just prevents the damage that would be dealt this turn. I think I mulligan this hand. This does not feel like it does anything. This is the best hand we have seen so far, unfortunately. We're going to get rid of the 5-drop that is expensive and one of the 3-drop creatures. Probably this one. My deck is just too fair here. My opponent has opened up on Exploration 3 games in a row. How do I file for MTGO? Fuck, reimbursement. This is bad. So Ghost Vacuum means that I am never going to accumulate enough cards in Graveyard to have Delirium. So life's tough, basically. And my opponent has Life from the Loam. We are in mid-term danger versus that Life from the Loam. God damn it, we are in short-term danger from that Life from the Loam. So now I can't get a Surveil land because Wasteland is showing, so I can't try to power through Ghost Vacuum. All right, multiple fear of missing out is a thing, I guess. A lot of this is going to come down to how long does it take my opponent to find the Maze of Iths and Tabernacles of the world. I'd probably get rid of this one. There's a Reanimate that is unlikely to do anything with active Ghost Vacuum. I also just have to fucking worry about my opponent just activating that on 6 mana. My opponent has 5 mana already and will have a 6th mana on their turn. Yeah, this conceptually feels like a nightmare. Like now my opponent has like Wasteland plus Port available to them to deny my mana. Oh, crop rotation. Oh, so I am just going to get Ghost Quartered out of this game. Yes, I will find the Swamp. But then my opponent can like Life from the Loam and just Ghost Quarter again. Yeah. So now I'm out. So, oh yeah. So Rashadan Port now keeps me from casting a 2-drop. We can... I guess I can see if my exact draw is Entomb. No, that doesn't matter. It's fucking Ghost Vacuum. What a nightmare matchup. We cannot interact meaningfully with this deck. I mean, which is the advantage of playing lands, to be fair. Okay. We have a pretty fair-looking hand here, where I probably just try to get fear of missing out online quickly and deal a bunch of combat damage with it. Lotus Petal. Red. Okay, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's fine. I was much more afraid of something like a Show and Tell happening. Okay, so we're going to bobble, I think bobble myself here. Flytrap. So I will have artifact, land, instant, creature. Flytrap will be live quickly. Flytrap seems fine. I'm going to draw that. So my goal here is to just out mid-range my opponent. So we can fear of missing out into Flytrap into Pyrogoyf and just hope to out mid-range what our opponent is doing. I can also just like discard Phyrexian Devourer to fear of missing out to get a redraw. Ooh, it's Painter rather than Stompy. Kind of hoping it was Stompy. I'm going to go to 18. What do you have for us now? All right, it is another Fable. You've got it. Opponent has a ton of selection now. We'll fetch. I'm no longer going to worry about Blood Moons in game 1. So I want maybe black, red with this. We're going to go ahead and entomb something. I can get Grizzlebrand to set up Reanimate. I can get Grist to put Creature and Planeswalker in simultaneously. I don't hate just getting Grist. I've got a land in there already. I have 5 types of 6 for the Flytrap. Let's go Bayou, Fear of Missing Out. We'll loot away the Devourer. That is an Agatha Soul Cauldron. So next turn, I have an infinite-sized Fear of Missing Out that gets multiple attack steps. Fuck! That's so sad. 2 turns from now, I have an infinite-sized Omnivorous Flytrap. Opponent gets to loot away some bad cards there. And now has a Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. Urza Saga is great. Opponent has so much mana. And these treasure tokens count as artifacts towards Urza Saga, which is problematic. And there's a Pithing Needle. I think it's pretty clear that the name is Agatha's Soul Cauldron after Phyrexian Devourer is tutored, so good on my opponent for having enough format knowledge to make that call. I have 6 card types in Graveyard. 6. Which means that I get the biggest booty plant. I get to put 2+1/+1 counters here, which then get doubled to 4+1/+1 counters. So I paid 3 mana for a 6/8 creature. That is then going to get 2+1/+1 counters and then double those upon attack. This creature's huge. Unfortunately, my opponent's Urza Saga tokens also will be quite huge. There's also some interesting interactions that can happen with multiple Reflection of Kiki-Jikis, but my opponent's just going to go for the offensive option, so they're going to make a construct token copy so that it can attack. And this allows their Goblin Shaman tokens to attack safely, but this is also just going to become a 7-power construct as 2 more treasure tokens get made and then grow it in turn. I think I have to absorb this amount of damage, unfortunately. I'll take 4. I think I'm just the tiniest bit too slow here. My opponent disrupted my combo finish twice. So I can Pyrogoyf. Is this a lethal attacker? There's 6 counters on it, double to 12 counters. This is 14 damage, so this has to be blocked. Let's make my opponent take some game actions. Grab a Bayou. Play a Pyrogoyf. Pyrogoyf deals 6 damage. Not quite in range where I can just burn my opponent out. So I'll send 6 damage at kind of the illusion of choice. It doesn't really matter. Send it here. Then I'll send in with this. Put the counters here. 14 power creature on its second attack. So my opponent can make another hasty construct token that swings in at me. I can chump block that with Pyrogoyf. That's okay. And then I just have to figure out how I'm actually getting my kill through the reflection of Kiki-Jiki. Opponent is going for mana instead. Does that just mean I'm going to die to combo? Let's stop yielding through the end of turn here. Goblin Welder. Oh, fuck. So they can make a hasty Goblin Welder. Yeah. And then that's how they get their Painter. Another land drop. So they can activate this targeting me and then turn the Grindstone into a Painter or turn a token into a Painter. It does not matter. I am dead to it. We are so close to doing incredibly impressive things every game here. Grizzlebrand into Archon, I think. There is some temptation to board out the Agatha Soul Cauldrons here to play Collector Oof. Collector Oof is very good. I want Oof and Force of Vigor. And I want Fatal Push. So I need 6 cards here. If I want to play Oof, I could get rid of Soul Cauldron, but Soul Cauldron is actively good against my opponent's Goblin Welders and such, so I think that might be one of those times where I awkwardly kind of play both. What do I cut? Low-hanging fruit is cut artifacts. Maybe cut Fear of Missing Out. Dies to Lightning Bolt in a way that a lot of my other threats don't. I'm going to be a little less good at making these things gargantuan, but my opponent should be helping with that in theory. I also don't think it's crazy to play Orcish Bowmasters, but I'm having a little bit of trouble finding the cuts to do so. This hand looks fine to good. I think this is one of the first times I actually have an Ignoble Hierarch opener, which is really good. Our deck is a little mana hungry, so this is kind of a big deal. And hopefully I set up Delirium for this very soon. I get Lightning Bolted, which means I'm taking a turn off to Malevolent Rumble. Which is fine. I'm going to fetch basics over the next couple of turns, just in case my opponent Blood Moons us. It seems relatively free to do. Ooh. Goyf is good, Soul Cauldron is good. Goyf is better now than Soul Cauldron is on the exact board state as we see it here. I will go ahead and pass the turn. Next turn I get a Goyf. I have 4 card types in graveyard for the Flytrap and the Goyf's size. Goyf can also just get me into things that I reanimate, which is a really big deal. Fable is fine. It's obviously a very good card. But we've got friends. I am probably interested in using a Surveil land this turn. I was talking about basics. A Surveil land is really good right now, but basics are also really good. All right, I'm gonna basic. So I have my bases covered from Blood Moon, nothing to reanimate yet. My opponent might discard something that I want to reanimate. I have a lot of value coming next turn. Spirit Guide and Painter. Urza's Saga. Sure. Welder's obviously good. Let's draw Interaction, huh? Hey, that's Interaction. That is exactly what I am looking for. Let's send in with my 5/6 creature, see if my opponent wants to just chump block that. They do not. I'm going to fill up this graveyard. Yes, I will mail 5 cards. Ooh, I will return Ignoble Hierarch to my hand as a 1-mana thing that I can play later. Yes. So, I will play Ignoble Hierarch. I will play Grist. I will minus Grist. Fuck, I could have reanimated too. I could have done this differently. Sack the spawn. blow up the welder. Could have done this in a way where I reanimated Pyrogoyf. Wow, Apostle's Blessing. Fucking savage. Yeah, so if I use Eldrazi spawn for mana, sacrifice a Noble Hierarch, I can then reanimate Pyrogoyf and kill Welder. And now my opponent is 3, activate, turn. Yeah, I just die. We are half a turn cycle too slow every time here. If we do a rebuild, maybe we need more mana dorks. All right. So we are very, very close to just immediately winning this game. I'm going to keep this one despite the fact that I don't have the second land. We have all 3 things we need to combo. We have Entomb for Phyrexian Devourer, we have the Soul Cauldron, and then we have the creature to go with it. If I draw a land, we have a kill next turn. Verdant Catacombs, Basic Swamp, and Fatal Push. This is the risk of keeping a hand like this one. Now, some portion of the time, we kind of flounder around for a few turns and don't do anything while we try to draw another land. Unfortunately, all 4 of the creatures that I have from here are all expensive. Misty is not great for us. Yeah, so now my opponent has found a source of card advantage. Oh my god, game 1 fucking Spellgabomb. Fuck me. Now my Entomb blows. Cool. Cool. Like a third. Cool. It's cool. I'm not mad, you're mad. Obviously, I'm putting that into graveyard. Now my opponent gets to start accumulating clues, and then is going to turn this into a planeswalker. I'm fine if I draw a land, and I am probably dead if I do not. Sure. That's kind of like a land, but very, very much worse. This is counterable, fatal pushable, whatever. If my opponent can minus Tameo, fatal push, remove this, and then I don't get a chance to play my meaningful creatures. Surveil. Brainstorm. Cycle Lorien Revealed to get another land and shuffle. And then I eat an Edict. Sure. So I desperately need running lands. I miss. At this point, I think it is probably acceptable to concede. Now I just don't get to pressure the Tameo before it ultimates. That's very unfortunate. So my opponent has main deck Graveyard Hate. That's not great. So push good, Bowmaster good, Pyroblast good. I'm looking at 6 cards here. Do I want to keep the Reanimator stuff? If I get rid of Reanimate, I go Reanimates out, Grizzlebrand out. I keep Phyrexian Devourer to Entomb for Agatha Soul Cauldron, and I play Agatha Soul Cauldron as a fair card while maybe trimming 1 Entomb. This is fine, and I probably treat my Agatha Soul Cauldrons as Graveyard Hate cards with upside. This is fine. It is not exciting, but if I get my opponent to waste all of their resources on initial ignoble hierarchs while maybe answering a Tameo or something along the way, maybe I end up being in a good position by the time I can actually get to casting Pyrogoyfs. Delta. Is it push? It is push. Sure. Now I can play a new friend. Is my current intention to surveil land most of the time with my turn? Daze is going to be sort of obnoxious here. It's a Bowmaster. Say that resolves. I think I just push this on my own turn so that I can surveil land. Yeah. Get Mortuary. I absolutely do not want more mana here. I will naturally draw some for the Pyrogoyf, but I'd like to find some things that are meaningful to do. Bobble doesn't really count. So I'll kill the Bowmaster. Going to bobble, target myself. I see a land. Do I want to draw that for the Pyrogoyf? Sure. It's just awkward. The Pyrogoyf is like very much dazable. Sure. That's happening. Opponent's gonna surveil. I will take 1. I'll fetch. I'll grab my other surveil land. Oh man. So much mana. Flytrap's cool. I think I will just be jamming Pyrogoyf this turn though. Grab a Bayou. It's a very good force of will for my opponent if they have one. A significantly less good Murderous Cut or whatever that answers it after I have dealt 4 or so damage to them. 14. Ponder. That's no shuffle here, so there's almost certainly something that deals with a Pyrogoyf. Underground Sea. Oh no, it's just an immediate brainstorm. Pyrogoyf has grown since the last turn cycle. I'm going to go ahead and just attack with the Pyrogoyf. My opponent will presumably just jump block here. That's fine. Do I already have a creature in my graveyard? Alright, so I already have a creature in my graveyard. The Flytrap resolves. I'm just going to throw the counters here. I want to have 2 different good threats. These things hit like trucks, and we're just going to see if my opponent has like the Sheoldred's Edict style cards that are going to end up being good against them. 15. Delta? Mystic Sanctuary. Okay, so that can get back Fatal Push. Assuming my opponent has a way to draw it. That is a Murktide Regent. That draws Fatal Push. There's Fatal Push. And just like that, I am in bad shape. Well, that's a start. I want to put counters on Pyrogoyf. I can have a 6/7, which could be a 7/8 if I tutor a Planeswalker. This is a little all in for my liking, but I think the game is slipping. I think I am okay with that. I'm going to send in. It is just the chump block. I'll pass turn. Opponent has another land drop. Has a Tamiyo. The hard cast Lorien revealed. That is going to flip Tamiyo. Tamiyo will make my next attacks worse. And pass. Did not want swamp. So I can put a counter on plant. Or rather, put 2 counters on plant. Plant can be a 4/6, which lives through Murktide Regent. Wait, is it -1/-1? No, it's -1/-0. I can also just ignore Tamiyo and try to go for face. Tamiyo getting back Fatal Push is a bit of a problem, though. So I might need to just attack with both creatures. Let's attack Tamiyo. I'll do 2 +1/+1 counters there. And we'll see how my opponent reacts to this. My guess is just block, keep the Tamiyo alive. And this is where I needed another card. I just needed to be live or another draw to play something else right here to put more pressure on the board. Now I think it's pretty easy for my opponent to use the 4 cards that they drew last turn to answer my board. Yeah, so there's the Fatal Push. This does put a counter on Murktide Regent since an instant leaves the graveyard. Thoughtseize. I will respond by entombing. So I'm going to put an enchantment into graveyard. I don't know, I can also just put the Phyrexian Devourer into graveyard in case I draw an Agatha Soul Cauldron rather than growing Pyrogoyf by 1. Oh, let's do that. Thoughtseize resolves. But now my opponent has, perfect information, no surprises. I'll lose 1 of these to Fatal Push. Witherbloom Command. So they're going to drain and then return a land. I have an 8/9 Pyrogoyf from hell. Please don't have Force of Will? Yeah? Shit. Face? 8 damage at face is really good. It means that if I draw another Pyrogoyf and it resolves, I just kill my opponent. I'm going to kill the Tamiyo, though. I do not expect this single Pyrogoyf to go all the way. I think we are settling in for a longer game, unfortunately. That is another Lorien revealed. And we'll see if my opponent answers Pyrogoyf with their 7 cards. They did. So this is the point of the game where I no longer have much agency. I am just playing the top card of my deck as I draw it. I have some powerful haymakers that I can draw. And that's that. Well, it's got a land drop and another beanstalk. This is probably the point where the game is over. Like, now my Pyrogoyfs don't do anything. My opponent has 5 cards plus double up the beanstalk, all the mana in the world. I think I can tap out safely here. GG's. So turn 2 I play Phyrexian... Sorry, turn 2 I play Fear of Missing Out. I discard Phyrexian Devourer. Turn 3 I play Agatha's Soul Cauldron, activate targeting Fear of Missing Out, and give it this ability. And my opponent has to deal with 2 infinite-sized creature combat attack steps. This time, Agatha's Soul Cauldron will do something. Yeah. So, we could be playing against a red Stompy deck. I usually see Valakut Awakening from the Necropotence decks, though. So I am worried that we are going to die before I get to do my thing. Flytrap can go to graveyard. That's just a random creature. The thing that I could reanimate if things get weird for some reason. Blood Moon. Yes. That does not interact with what I am doing. So, I will play my first red creature. Notably, opponent has Blood Moon while having one land themselves. They used Spirit Guides to accomplish this. So discard Phyrexian Devourer, draw a new card. It is a bauble. So we'll take a look at a card over there. We see Chrome Mox. I'll take my redraw, please. We have Entomb Reanimate, but not the black mana to do it. And opponent does not have another play. So, yeah? Yeah? Target Phyrexian Devourer. Put the +1/+1 counter on. Go to combat. Declare attackers. This is now a 3/4 and lives through Lightning Bolt. At which point we start activating this ability until we create a creature that has 20 power. This is the Agatha Soul Cauldron thing that I built the deck around, that I was very much hoping we would do more, but here we are, final round, we are actively doing it now. 19 power, 19 power, 19 power, 22 power. So there is our turn 3 Goldfish. Fantastic. So we saw a very, very strange opening hand here. So the Stompy decks don't actually want to play the one of these that ETB's tapped. My opponent might just have 8 fucking Blood Moon effects if they are willing to play this in their game 1. I would like basics. I would like Force of Vigor. Much as I like the idea of Grizzle branding off Agatha's Soul Cauldron, I think I want Archon. I don't know exactly what creatures my opponent is playing, but they're playing creatures. I might Collector Oof them. I might Fatal Push them. I might Thoughtseize them. I don't quite have enough information. Like, I very much don't know the specifics of my opponent's build. Their keep was weird. I think I'm going to Malevolent Rumble out, play Force of Vigor. Might want this. Ignore the non-bow, it hurts to look at, but like my opponent could be doing some One Ring bullshit. Assuming I get a turn 1, I have 2 of my basics. I have a reasonable card for the I have 2 reasonable cards for the matchup, although I can't pitch cast this yet. Let's see where this goes. That is not the green card that I was hoping for. I might not fetch with this immediately. I would love for this to be a Surveil land. It's not as of right now. That is a Blood Moon. So I will get my Swamp. I have Swamp, Forest, and Mountain available to me. So this Blood Moon is not actually harmful. I will play Agatha's Soul Cauldron even though it's not doing anything immediately. I would like more cards in my graveyard for these things to get better. If this one resolves, it will do its thing. Chalice on 1 has very little text versus my deck. That's great. Now, the initial one of these that I play can die to any number of red removal spells. You know, the Dead Gone, Fury style stuff. Secondary Blood Moon, that's fine. That's not doing anything. Hierarch? Play that pre-combat? No, don't play that pre-combat. Chalice. Okay. So, unimpressive 1 starting damage. Yeah. Mill 1. Yes. Okay. I mean, yeah. Yes. So, make land drop. I think I messed this up. Okay. I don't know. It's a green. So I can play this to just grow both of these, or I can save it for Force of Vigor. I'm just gonna save it for Force of Vigor. Force of Vigor can really mess with Fury math, because my opponent could cast a Fury, deal 2/2, and then I Force of Vigor, get rid of a Chalice and a Blood Moon or whatever. I think I am going to Force of Vigor here to just increase the number of card types in graveyards. These are now 4/5s. Yeah. So this hits for 8, bringing my opponent to 11. Mill 4. Yes. I'll pick up a Goyf. Mill 4. Yes. I will pick up a Hierarch. I have multiple 5/6 creatures here. I have Agatha's Soul Cauldron to grow these at a moment's notice. I can also just Archon of Cruelty. Just, fucking, why not? Yeah. Through the Breach. Saucy. Okay. So that's why my opponent is doing what they're doing. I understand now. So do this thing. There's an Ancient Tomb, which only produces 1 mana because of Blood Moon. I will play out an additional card here in case I need permanents in play, and then call it a turn. I should very much have lethal next turn through most things. So Spirit Guide through the Breach, Emrakul could be a problem. So land drop, the One Ring. Sure. Draw your card. Does this target on attack? Target opponent, it does. So what do I want to do? Just put enough permanents into play that I get around an Emrakul? That's easy enough to do, I guess. I can play 2 cards this turn. So, yeah, play the Flytrap. I think I'm just going to stack these up here on the Archon. And then, play another creature here. And we'll pass. Opponent goes to 7. Draws 2 cards. It is a new copy of the One Ring. This protection means that I can't just dome my opponent for lethal with a Pyrogoyf. They're going to keep the one with no counters on it currently. Presumably just draw another card immediately. And after the land drop, they'll be passing. Do I have... I do have Entomb or Phyrexian Devourer the best thing that I can do? No. I'm a little sad that the answer is no, but no. So I think the best thing that I can do is cast Entomb, get Collector, oof. Reanimate, Collector, oof. That costs me 2 life. It shuts off my Agatha Soul Cauldron, but shuts off the One Ring. Now this stuff isn't... well, Pyrogoyf is castable, but I don't want to cast it. I'm fogged this turn. We're going to attack with Omnivorous Flytrap. We're going to put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature. I'm at 4 types, so we don't double. I'm at 21 life. I live through Emrakul. I have very large blockers for something else like a Grizzlebrand that would come in. All right, we're doing something. It is a sneak attack. What do you have? Emrakul is fine. So Annihilator 6 happens. So, Pyrogoyf is currently a 5/6. The One Ring deals 1 point of damage to my opponent at their next upkeep. So 1, I can just get rid of my most of my lands. Like I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and just say beat this board. I think that's very reasonable. And I just don't cast the Pyrogoyf. So I will not block the Emrakul. I will take the 15 directly. That's fine. It's very hard for my opponent to live through this. Like I am also going to gain a very large amount of life here. All right, so send it, send it, send it, send it, send it, send it. You don't need to attack. So, yeah. So I'm just going to make something else bigger here. I don't need to make that Archon any bigger. It is already very much lethal. Something that is not lethal would be like the Flytrap or the Oof. Let's make the Flytrap bigger. All right, so opponent goes 2/3. And let's see what they can do here. The new Emrakul. Second creature is another Emrakul. I appreciate the humor here. And we do put a win on the board. See, this is how I envisioned this deck working out. But it only happened in the final round here. All right. I feel like we were close to something today, but we didn't quite get there. The deck was built around Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Like, it has Entomb to find the combo. It has Fear of Missing Out as a very good early creature to execute that combo with, since it can get that second attack step with Delirium. It has Grist as something else you can tutor up. Like, when your creatures just start crapping insects out everywhere, that ends up being pretty powerful. But we had some other things supporting the Agatha Soul Cauldron that often got boarded out just because it was objectively more powerful to just be reanimating a good creature rather than having a creature with another activated ability. The Delirium stuff that I was doing was pretty strong. It was a touch too slow. There might be something here with like these Goyfs and the Flytraps and the Fear of Missing Out in a Jund shell. And I think I think it's a different deck. I think if you take these 11 cards and maybe turn 4 of those into more mana dorks and 8 of those into interaction of some kind, you probably end up with a relatively good mid-range deck. You could also maybe do like 4 removal spells, 4 Thoughtseize, 4 mana dorks, or, something in that general ballpark. Oh, you would also get 2 more slots from Phyrexian Devourer and Grizzlebrand. Yeah, I think you can build a reasonable Jund-style deck list doing this Delirium stuff. We largely failed in our capacity as an Agatha Soul Cauldron deck. Like, there was all of this intention to fuel extra cards in Graveyard to make the Soul Cauldron very good in just a fair capacity of putting +1/+1 counters on creatures. But I just, didn't draw Soul Cauldron a lot. And there's not much to be done when that happens. So as a learning experience, I'm going to call this a success. As an exact deck, as an exact 75, I'm going to call this a failure. In terms of tuning, I would like some Graveyard Hate in the sideboard, or maybe the main deck. You maybe can finagle the land amount a little bit. There were times where I flooded out. There were times where I desperately needed the extra mana to cast my 3 or 4 drop, though. I'm not sure exactly where we fall. Surveil lands enabling Delirium is really strong. If you want to game Agatha's Soul Cauldron harder than I did, you could also go the route of playing some mulch-type cards that also contribute to the Delirium scheme. One of my problems with... Go to a different scene here. One of my problems with wanting to just do Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineer, Emery style artifact decks with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, though, is that people are respecting artifact decks right now. The Mystic Forge deck took a pretty big blow from Vexing Bauble, but I'm still seeing a pretty decent amount of the Null Rod, Stony Silences, Collector Oof style hate cards. And if you're already taking splash damage from people playing Graveyard Hate because we think Blue-Black Reanimator is still going to be one of the best things in the format, and people are still respecting artifacts, it might just be a bad time to be messing around with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. We'll see how Painter's win rate rebounds, but prior to the Frog bannings, Painter was not doing particularly well either. So if you're doing something in that wheelhouse, maybe it's not great. Yet another direction that you could take this is try to play Ancient Tombs here. Ancient Tomb powering out the Flytrap Goyfs is good, but Ancient Tomb in a Jund deck maybe doesn't work. You might have to cut a color. But hopefully that is a lot of food for thought for you, Kevin. I think this was still a pretty enjoyable league, despite the fact that we did kind of get our teeth knocked in. We were having a fighting chance in most of the rounds, though, so thumbs up there. All right, folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. If you need some cards, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU will save you a little bit money on your order, and let them know that they should continue to support my content. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.